Hi, my name is Luce. I'm a trans and polyamorous therapist in Texas, and this is my therapy theme of the week. This week's theme honors Lesbian Visibility Week. As I myself am a trans lesbian, this is what I want to say about lesbians. One of the reasons why I love being a lesbian and I love lesbians is because we get to show the world that it is possible to love outside the dimensions of patriarchy. We, with sapphic love, create an entirely different dimension, an entirely different way of loving people and living, and it's so beautiful. It's as important as the sunshine. The world is a better place with sapphic love in it.
I'm not sure I can say what I actually think about this video without YouTube or TikTok or whatever censoring me and giving me a strike. But you know what? Fuck it. We're going to do it. I'm going to get real with you guys, and I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to be honest, and I don't really care if it offends people because I'm getting sick of this crap. You are not a lesbian. A lesbian is a female who loves and is attracted to other females. You are a male, a biological male who is attracted to females. That makes you a straight person, a heterosexual person who is cosplaying as a lesbian, who is colonizing lesbianism, appropriating their culture and their struggle that was hard fought for and turning it into a joke. Because you are not even an actual trans woman who's trying to at least blend in as a woman. You're walking around here with a full-ass beard unshaved. So this must be some kind of a joke. It's not. I looked at this person. I wish it was a parody account. I really do. But it isn't. It is actually a person ostensibly, seriously, who thinks they are a lesbian just because they identify as one, as if that isn't insulting to the women who actually have been discriminated against and hurt and harmed for so many decades because of who they love and how they are. And now you have a male cosplaying and colonizing their identity and their lifestyle. It's just, oh my gosh, it's almost beyond parody. And this person is a therapist. How are you supposed to be giving advice to people when you yourself are clearly so hopelessly confused? Acceptance for the LGBT community is going down, not up. And it's this kind of thing that's making us all look like a joke. It's making us look incoherent and absurd and laughable. And that's why it's going down. At least that's part of why. You're not helping. You're making a mockery out of the LGBT community, and you're insulting lesbians by appropriating their identity without even trying to do the bare minimum, right? Because is a trans woman who dates other women technically a lesbian? No, but at least they're like blending in and living life as a woman, so it's not quite the same thing as this literal bearded male claiming to be a lesbian, right? That's just insulting. And then the audacity to talk about how valuable lesbian love is and sapphic love, which that's what that refers to, while you yourself are actively denigrating and making a mockery of it. It's just, the math is not mathing. The delusion is unbelievable. I don't care if platforms censor me or take my videos down. I don't care if people call me a bigot. I am never going to call this person a lesbian. I'm never going to believe that this person is a lesbian. Make of that what you will, y'all. But if you can't tell, I'm getting sick of this shit. I really am. Lily Tino is back to educate us about pronouns and how they apparently don't have anything to do with gender after all. Let's take a look.
Welcome to Ask a Trans Girl, the show where I answer your questions. Let's listen to today's voicemail.
Hi, I'm sorry if this comes off offensive. This is like a genuine question. I know that a lot of people believes that gender and pronouns are two different things. For example, you could be a male and go by she, her pronouns. Do you also believe that? And if you do, why you get upset whenever people call you him or he?
First off, the question was not offensive. I'm happy to answer it. A man can absolutely use she, her pronouns. There's no link between what pronouns you use and what gender you are. So why do I get offended when someone calls me he? You might have seen the videos of me getting misgendered in restaurants. A lot of times people will criticize my reaction in those videos and say, well, how could the server have known that you were she, her, and not he, him? What am I suggesting here? What's the change? What's the thing that the server could have done? The server could have not called me he or she. You don't need to say hello, sir, or hello, ma'am. Just say, hey, how's it going? What can I get for you? And why do I get upset? It's because I'm a human being with human feelings, and when someone says something that hurts me, I say something about it, because otherwise it simmers and festers, and no one likes that. Anyways, hope that helped.
The comments on this video were absolutely savage. One person said, "This is very informative. Thank you, sir." Another person wrote, "Dude, take your meds." "Thanks, sir. I learned a lot. This makes zero sense. Why would you call a man who also identifies as a male she? Stop putting crap like this on the internet, or some kid will see this and actually believe what you say." Another person, "Did you ever think that maybe like no one cares? We literally do not care what you identify as. I identify as a lesbian raccoon. Who cares?" Another person finally just said, "Oh my God, please stop making content for the love of everything holy." So there's a lot here, but boy, everything about this is just incoherent beyond belief. A man using she, her pronouns makes no sense because you're using pronouns that refer to a woman, but you're saying you're a man. That would be like me going around and telling everybody that I'm a journalist, not a doctor, and yet demanding that people refer to me as Dr. Brad. People would look at me like I'm insane and speaking nonsense, because I would be insane and speaking nonsense. And the idea that there's no link between your pronouns and what gender you are, it totally contradicts everything the pronoun people and the alphabet mafia have been telling us for years. If there's no link, then why do people need to ask you your pronouns to affirm your gender? Why do you need to go by different pronouns? Why don't you just keep going by he and him then, even if you're a trans woman? If there's no link, why does it matter? And Lily never actually explained why Lily cares when people use the wrong pronouns for Lily, because if pronouns have nothing to do with your gender, why is it even misgendering? Why do we even call it that? It's not misgendering if it has nothing to do with gender. So people can call you he and him and has nothing to do with your gender, so why is it offensive? Now, Lily tries to say that just because, well, they didn't have to use a pronoun at all, but that doesn't seem like a good reason to be offended. No, you're offended because you identify as a woman, and then you want people to use pronouns that correspond with that, and you get offended if they don't, which I think that's their right to not use them, but you have a right to feel however you want about it as well, I guess. But you can't then say that pronouns have nothing to do with gender. The math is not mathing. 2 + 2 is not 5, babe. This is the problem I have with a lot of this TikTok content from the more extreme LGBT people, is they don't even bother to make sense. And if your message and your movement fundamentally does not make sense at just a basic logical coherence level, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to support your community. Nobody's going to support your cause. So then is it any wonder that LGBT acceptance is going down, not up, for the first time in my lifetime? I don't think it is. I think it's the inevitable result of peddling incoherent woke nonsense for millions of people to view on the internet every day. When stuff like this, that fundamentally doesn't make any sense and is absurd to anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together, when stuff like this is the face of the community, rightly or wrongly, online, it gives fuel to the haters, and it gives a false impression to the world that all LGBT people will just live in Delulu land like Lily Tino so clearly does. I can't stand it, and I just think that if people like this actually cared about acceptance of transgender people or gay people or lesbian people or bisexual people, the best thing they could do is delete their account and stop posting videos. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and do like this video to reward my suffering through this insanity. Today, this woman is encouraging people to divorce their husbands if they support Trump.
I just saw a heartbreaking video of a woman who realized now, 8 years in, that her husband is a Trump supporter. I can't even imagine that. But I would get a divorce immediately, and there are going to be Republicans on the internet that are really mad about this because I'm spreading hate and divisiveness. But like, I want people to have control over their own bodies. He doesn't. I want women to be able to do whatever they want. He doesn't. He doesn't even want us to be able to vote.
Huh?
I want it to be easier for people to vote in elections. And he said, if you vote this time, you'll never have to do it again. So people who say that it's divisive to think like that politically, I would not be able to live in the same house with someone who had such fundamentally different beliefs. How could you love someone that supports a person who wants to strip you of your rights, that wants you to bleed out in a hospital room rather than giving you the abortion care that you need?
So there's a lot to unpack here. First and foremost, I mean, if you're finding out 8 years in, and I know this isn't her, this is another person who was talking about, but if you're finding out 8 years in that your husband is a Trump supporter, there's something wrong here beyond just politics. Like, how did you never discuss this? Did he lie to you for many years? Like, there's a communication or honesty issue there that's actually a problem. But just the political difference itself shouldn't be. And it's actually insane and frankly kind of evil to tell people they should destroy their families and disown their loved ones just because they vote for people at the different ballot box, different people at the ballot box. That is such a totalizing and reductionist worldview that basically says that one part of you determines whether you're a irredeemable human and leaves no room for nuance or complexity or the notion that some issues are actually really complicated, abortion as much as any, and that good people could reach different conclusions in good faith. No room for that, just total black and white view of the world, very childish, good and bad. How could anyone disagree with me on this? They must be evil. There's no other explanation. And some of this is just unhinged. Like, what is she talking about? Trump doesn't want women to vote. He's never said that. He's not opposed to women voting. That's just a weird lie. In the same way, when she talks about how Trump said you'll never have to vote again, she's taking that totally out of context. What he was doing was telling his supporters to show up to the polls this time, and then he'll solve the problems they care about, and he won't really care if they show up next election. He wasn't saying there won't be any more elections, I'll take over. That's just a total distortion and lie based on what he actually said. And I just can't relate to this idea that you can't love somebody who disagrees with you or has different political views. That is so, to me, bleak and just divisive and toxic. People can be complicated. People can have differences of opinion. People can have dimensions to them, some of which you really appreciate profoundly and love, and some of which you don't agree with. And that's okay, but that's part of the human experience. We're not meant to look at each other as black and white NPC automatons like this woman clearly does. This whole rant's also crazy because Trump has actually taken a somewhat moderate position on abortion. He's not a hardcore pro-lifer. In fact, many of the extreme pro-lifers are really upset with him right now because he's come out as pro-IVF. He's come out as against a federal abortion ban, saying leave it to the states so they can all decide. And even in his state, Florida, he's opposed restrictions that are very harsh, very severe restrictions on abortion, wanting to preserve some level of abortion access. And he's always maintained that he supports exceptions for extreme rare outlier cases, the typical exceptions. So obviously, his judges did overturn Roe v. Wade, which then sent abortion policies back to the states. That's something I agree with and think makes sense. But Trump, so you can blame him for that, sure, but his actual position on abortion isn't even extreme pro-life. Even if it was, I mean, you shouldn't divorce your husband for supporting him, but it's all the more delusional when the guy you're so upset about isn't even nearly as extreme on this issue as you're making him out to be. I actually feel bad for this woman because she's closing herself off to a lot of healthy relationships or positive experiences with other people who are different from her because of her narrow-mindedness and toxicity. And if it was just her doing that, at least then it's just affecting her own life, I guess. And I guess it's not the end of the world. But to be going out into the internet and telling people to get divorces for reasons that are ultimately trivial in the scheme of our individual lives is actually really evil and sick stuff. And I am just so disheartened by it. And I really hope people like this stop putting out that toxicity and negativity into the world. Today, a new woke sexuality just dropped, and our friend Fuzz99 is here to explain it. Buckle up and get ready to get educated about what it means to be omnisexual. Let's take a listen.
What's omnisexual? And why the heck does their flag look like this? Well, identify as omnisexual fall under the bi umbrella, which means they share a lot of similarities with other identities that fall under the same umbrella, but are different. Hey. People who identify as omnisexual are attracted to all genders, just like pansexual friends. Hey. However, unlike pansexual friends, omnisexual friends are not gender blind. They recognize people for their genders and have a preference for who they end up with. Do they think everybody's hot? Hell yeah! They just might not want to date someone or end up with someone depending on what their gender is. Hey. The omnisexual flag was created in 2015 and consists of 5 stripes. The light blue and light pink stripes represent the gender spectrum. The pink stripe represents attraction to women and femininity. The blue stripe represents attraction to men and masculinity. Rawr! And the purple stripe represents people whose genders fall outside of the binary and gender spectrum. Hey. And not every omnisexual friend is the same as another omnisexual friend, but we love all of our omnisexual friends.
So the comment section on this one did not disappoint. One person said, post this on IG Reels, because the comment section on Instagram Reels is savage. It is so offensive and so wild. And I'm not gonna lie, I go on there and look at the comments every time I see a funny reel. Another person writes, just put the fries in the bag, bro. Another person said, gonna lie, your content is amazing. Whatever you're on, nice spelling, bro. Whatever you're on, I need it instantly. Can we ban these in America, please? And literally cancer. So I don't support being mean or bullying this individual, Fuzz99, in any way. So please don't do that, at least not in my comment section. Let's be kind. But we can say that this content does not make sense and is not necessary. What this individual just described as omnisexual is just bisexual with extra steps. It's just bisexual dressed up in wrapping paper and rebranded into something new and woke and exciting. There are 2 human sexes, males and females. Sexual orientation is not about gender identity or how you feel inside. That's not what people are attracted to. It's about your biological sex. And so there are people who are attracted to the opposite sex, the same sex, or to both. And those would be bisexual people. And that's perfectly cool, perfectly valid. Live your life, love whoever you want, as long as you're all consenting adults and it's all above board, power to you. I couldn't care less. I'm fully supportive of that. And I think most people in America are. However, we don't need new fake names for it, right? It's just okay to be bisexual. You don't need to call it something else for extra victim points in the Oppression Olympics. And it's actually kind of bizarrely, in a weird way, accidentally regressive and kind of sexist and offensive, the way that Fuzz99 explains this imaginary concept. I mean, the blue is for boys and the pink is for red on the flag, or the pink is for girls on the flag. So you're doing sexism. You're literally just doing gender tropes and then calling it woke and progressive. That seems a little nonsensical to me, babe, but what do I know? I'm not up to date with the latest LGBTQIA2+ logo and identities, apparently. And I'm literally a part of this community, though it's really a category, as a gay person, and I can't keep up. So I don't understand how everyday straight people are supposed to. Unfortunately, people like this are turning the LGBT community or category or whatever you want to call it into something of a joke, right? You can't just keep adding things. It's like the LGBT community is a clown car, and now we're on the 40th person getting in this tiny little car. At some point, you run out of spare compartments and the car is going to break or break down or bust. And you can't keep cramming things on to this ship without eventually sinking it and dragging it down. It's just, we've got to hold what we have. We finally got acceptance for gay, bisexual, and lesbian people. And now, instead of protecting that as it's actually starting to be eroded thanks to crap like this, we're going to just keep adding nonsense to it and undermine that progress and acceptance by presenting people with unnecessary things they can't understand because they're internally contradictory and not coherent logically. And then we're going to act shocked and victimized when support goes down. But actually, that's the predictable result of individuals like this and their rhetoric and their approach to these issues. So please, once again, I'm just begging these woke LGBTQ plus TikTokers to, if they actually care about this community of people and its acceptance, stop posting content. It does more harm than good. And especially stop posting it in this weird way that's clearly targeted towards children. I mean, the way this person, Fuzz99, talks and speaks is agonizing to listen to as an adult, but is clearly targeted to be for kids. And it's on TikTok, an app mostly for kids. And it's like, why are you trying to talk about sexualities to kids? That's weird and unnecessary and inappropriate. And unfortunately, it does also play into stereotypes and tropes that are not statistically true, that LGBT people are out to get your kids. That's not true if you look at statistics, but individuals like this are trying to do inappropriate stuff and message and market it towards children. And I really do resent that because they're giving fuel to the haters and they're playing into old, dangerous stereotypes knowingly or unknowingly, and they could confuse kids and actually do harm to them by exposing them to this kind of content that is nonsensical and also they may not be ready for, which is why you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't just be pushing this stuff on the internet out to lots of potential children on this app. You should be staying in your lane and letting parents have those conversations with kids when their kid is ready for it, not doing this weird kind of PSA activism marketed towards under 11s about sexuality lessons. That is creepy on many levels and totally unnecessary and counterproductive. But what do you guys think of this interesting video? Please do let me know in the comments below, and do hit that like button to reward my suffering, because this one definitely shaved a couple points off my IQ. It fried some brain cells that I'll just never recover. So the least you can do is like the video. Today, we've got another unhinged TikTok about capitalism. Let's take a look.
How have we convinced everyone in this country that literally, like, when you are working 40 hours a week, especially if you're working like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, that's your whole day. You are giving up 5 days of your week and you get 2 of them to survive, okay? And yeah, sure, and within this capitalistic system, of course, Emrys, how else are we gonna pay our bills? Okay, did you know people used to not pay bills? Did you know that it's like people used to not pay rent for this earth? Because if you really think about it, right, who are we paying rent to? Who owns the earth? Who owns the land? And why do they own the land? Then if you want to get extra technical, this is for my fellow Americans. Who owned the land? Who took the land? And what were their reasons for it? And are their reasons valid enough that we suddenly now have to pay them for it? For 40 hours a week. And it just sucks because you can't have that conversation most of the time because it's too radical. And it's like, hear me out. I understand. Right now we are in a position or a time in society where people do have to work for 40 hours a week in order to survive. But it's like, if you are those people, can we at least just all come together and like, why aren't you mad? Why is it the people that work the most that are like, this is fine? I like this. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can like it. But like, you are a slave.
Oh?
Say it with your chest.
So that took a little bit of a wild twist at the end there, again with this slave thing. That is so offensive to actual people who experienced slavery and the horrific, evil nature of that system that forcibly put people into labor and violated their human rights and abused them just to no end. To compare that to you choosing to work where you want to work, what line of work you want to go into, but having to work in some capacity because you don't have a divine right to have everyone else pay for everything you need and take care of you as an adult. Oh, that's not slavery, babe. Again, you cannot put your 2 weeks in as a slave. I just don't understand why they make these ridiculous hyperbolic claims. It just seems like it discredits them and their arguments. And look, I'm not without sympathy to the fact that it can be hard to work full time, to work a 9 to 5, especially with a big commute. Like, it's not easy. I've done it. My life looks different now, but I have done that. And I'm not sitting here saying it's easy, but I am just, once again, not really sure what the alternative is. I mean, this person talks about like, oh, back in the day, no one had to rent the earth under Native Americans or whatever. Babe, they lived in teepees. They lived in huts made out of mud. Yes, they did not have to pay rent for it, but they didn't live in this marvelous modern society with these apartment complexes, with all these amenities and all this technology and all this stuff. I mean, it has to come from somewhere. Do these people think they have some divine right to exist and have all their needs met by other people? Seriously, is that what they think? And I get that people work hard, I really do, but they don't seem to understand that working conditions, yes, under the evil slave system of capitalism, have gotten so much better. But they act like people have never had things worse and we're just being run into the ground. And it's just not true. Maybe you're just more fragile than the generations that came before us and less willing to work and take care of yourself and more entitled. Have you ever considered that possibility? And it is always funny to me because I guess I'm making some assumptions here, but it seems pretty safe to assume this person is a hardcore progressive, right? And so they're complaining in one sense about the fact that they're forced to work so much to get by and that people are in general, but in another sense, they support the economic policies that have made life so much more expensive, especially in recent years. To me, the math is not mathing. Okay, 2 plus 2 is not 5. And just because you say it in a sassy way and go on a TikTok rant that gets a ton of views and likes doesn't actually make it 5 either. I would just love to know like what these people have in mind exactly. Show me a real world example of some place that's doing it better and is thriving and has this level of prosperity and social mobility for its citizens and luxury and technology and amenity. And yet people don't have to work 40 hours a week. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear all about it. So please, if this video somehow gets back to you, babe, do hit me up and let me know where this utopia is, where everyone is just kumbaya and has all the things they need and no one has to pay rent, and no one has to work full time, and we just all just are in community and communist prosperity or whatever. Please, I'm very curious. You guys let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. Do you think she's letting her Delulu show, or do you think she actually has a point? Let me know in the comments, and do hit that like button to reward my suffering through this absolute hellscape of an app.